It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill. And today we want to talk about basically everything in your environment that impacts your health and weight loss journey. And that could be your literal environment that your physical body is in, but also the people you spend your time with, the things that you consume, like mentally, the things you hear, see, your thoughts. There's so much that goes into that can have significant impact and, quite frankly, make or break your journey, your progress, what your habits look like, your social environment, all of that matters. And we have probably 8 billion client examples, but we want to talk about, so much of this podcast is like your identity level and changing your lifestyle and elevating who you are as a person to like adopt these healthier habits forever, right? And to keep things simple. But ultimately, the best thing that you can do is optimize your environment and make it easier for yourself to implement those things. And you'll be surprised, like even energetically, some shifts that you can make that make things so much easier for you to execute. And we have a lot of those wins early on with clients in the program where they're like, wow, I thought this was going to be really difficult, or this thing really helped me. And that's so different for every person too, based on what their starting point is. So that's really what we want to talk about. And then obviously, of course, the episode will always end with just actionable steps that you can take to kind of audit yourself and see what things maybe are in your life that don't serve you, and some things that you can optimize, and maybe some things that are serving you that you can double down on. So that's really the purpose of this episode, is just how to optimize everything around you to make becoming that version of yourself that much easier. Now,
and we've had lots of episodes about atomic habits, James Clear, and about some of those concepts of like making the healthier choice easier for future you, rather than thinking, I need more discipline. I know my willpower sucks. It's like, stop relying on willpower, discipline, motivation. And instead, let's create systems to make the choices you want to make easier and to make the choices you don't want to make a little bit more difficult. Let's create roadblocks around those choices, right? So the first thing we want to talk about here is your physical environment, right? Your food, your fridge, your home, your physical surroundings that can make life easier. And these are the types of things, like I know Jill just said, it's so individual for every single person. I can think of one client, and it was funny. We walked through, she has graduated from coaching with us, has completely overhauled her whole life. But when we first started together, basically was like, no, I just don't like working out, and I'm never going to like working out. And I'm like, okay, well, like that in itself, we'll get to the language and the way you're talking about the thing. But why don't you like working out? Like, talk to me about it. What are the roadblocks? What are the things that get in your way? And her first thing was like, I have curly hair and it's such a pain because then I have to wash my hair again to get it to look good after I just went to the gym and I got sweaty. Okay, could we work out first thing in the morning? Because then you only have to shower once right after she was working out at home. Then you go downstairs, you work out in your basement, then you wash your hair. Boom, we just removed a roadblock. Okay, hit me with the next one. And she was like, well, my basement's dingy. And it's like, okay, let's bring your dumbbells upstairs into the living room. Is that possible, right? And we kind of went down this list until eventually she started working out and she was like, oh, wow. It was just these couple barriers, right? An example for myself, I used to work in an office job, like where I was at a desk all day long, and then I would drive home. And if I had to go home to get my stuff to go back to the gym, I was not going to go back to the gym because it's like dark, I'm tired, it's cold outside. So I start packing my gym bag. I do not pass go. I pass the gym. I'm not allowed to go home first because if I sit on the couch, I'm not getting back up, right? I'm not trusting future me to make that decision. I'm making it for her by packing the gym bag on the way so that when I go to work in the morning, I'm ready to stop there on the way home no matter what. So those are the types of things that every single person, whatever your roadblock is going to be, the solution or the tool is going to be a little bit different, right? And as your coach, that's our job, is to help navigate that and help you find some tools. But a really common one is the food in your home. If you have control over the food in your home, right? Can you stop buying the crap that you don't want to eat as often? It doesn't mean that those foods are off limits, right? If I don't want to have ice cream every night with TV, maybe I just don't buy ice cream. I'm allowed to if it's a special occasion, or if me and my family want ice cream, we'll go to Dairy Queen and we'll all get Blizzards. Like, it's not off limits, but I tend to not keep it in my house all the time because I know my habit around that from growing up having ice cream anytime we watch TV. I talk about this a lot because I'm short, but like I physically put things out of sight, out of mind. If my husband buys Pop Tarts and stuff that I know I'll eat if I see it, right? I'll put that stuff on the top shelf of the pantry because when I open up eye level, I have things like nuts and flax seeds and chia seeds to add to my yogurt and things like that. The healthier things that I'd like to make those choices more accessible at eye level. It's just like when you guys buy fruits and veggies, right? If we put it in the drawer, it goes there to die because we're not thinking about it when it's in there. We're not going in and craving fruits and veggies. Let's rinse them and chop them and put them at eye level. And then you're more likely to be like,
Make it as easy to grab that thing as it is to go grab a packaged snack in your pantry.
Yeah, like I don't want to let it go to waste there. So that physical environment, that's all I just wanted. I know I just gave 1,000 examples, but I hope that hits home.
Yeah, I think too that like, some clients will be like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing or I'm trying to do this thing. And it's like, great, what is creating that resistance in that habit that you're trying to create? And now, obviously, this applies to any piece of this podcast episode today, but for your physical, literal home environment, how can you reduce the need to remember a million things and reduce that cognitive load? So for me, I hate clutter on my counter. I don't want all of my supplements just sitting out on my fucking island every day, but I have a little itty bitty clear Tupperware square. I have that on the counter. It's the only thing in my eyesight when I walk into my kitchen first thing in the morning. That's my cue to take my supplements. So I don't need them all out, but like I still have that. I need that reminder for myself. They're up in my cabinet. Otherwise, I might just go about my morning and be like, oh, shoot, I haven't taken my vitamins I wanted to take this morning. It's easier for bedtime because our cue is like, all right, we're shutting down the house. We go take our supplements. So it's the end of my day and I don't necessarily need like a cue for me to take action in that scenario. Maybe it's just more established, but the morning is a little crazy. I'm getting kiddo out the door. Like I need that reminder. So, same with like planning my day before. I literally might lay out my workout clothes and my shoes and have everything ready to go. I look at my calendar. I'm like, yep, I can get my workout in at 8:30 or whatever time it is. So now I have reduced any decision fatigue or having to logistic my way out of something. It's real easy for me to be like, oh, I have so much to do. I'm not working out. But it's like, nope, I made time in my calendar for this. My clothes are out and ready to go. Like I'm making it as easy as possible for me to go to the gym. So those are the kind of things when we're thinking about our physical environment. And then sleep, right? If you're trying to have better sleep, your room should be pitch black. Your room should be cold.
Don't have your phone right next to you.
Yes.
Like for me, that's the temptation is, well, I could scroll a little bit. Okay, if I plug it in across the room or in my bathroom,
it's real inconvenient.
I've removed it. I've removed that temptation from now it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
This is off topic. I think we've done a whole episode on this before, but I think another, I don't know, combative thing that I hear when people are like, well, but my kids like to eat the snack. So it's just around. I always like to challenge this. And again, everybody is different. Some kids are pickier than others. Your kids are different ages where it makes it more challenging or less challenging, right? But you are the person in charge of what your children eat. Again, I'm not saying you don't need to have convenience options available for your kids, but your kids are not running the household. And I say that to say, if your kids love having food that you think doesn't meet your health goals, is that really the precedence that you want to set for their habits and their maybe sugar addictions moving forward in life, right? We don't want to get them in a place where 30 years from now, they're in the same predicament. So really trying to shift the environment for the family doesn't need to be all at once. Maybe it's little bits at a time until eventually everybody is eating a little bit more like you, Mom, right? So I just wanted to touch on that because I think sometimes we let the other people run how we are going to eat and we can control what we consume.
All right. So interestingly enough, beautiful segue into your social environment. That could be your kids, your spouse, your family, your coworkers. Now, Jess mentioned like office environment, for example. I know everyone has lived this in some fashion where someone is commenting on the food that you're eating or why aren't you participating in our cupcake extravaganza today or whatever. So have you ever heard that phrase of like, you're the sum of the like 5 people you hang out with, right? So like, I feel like that's nuanced. And like, yes, I agree that you can like optimize your circle. Like you don't want people that bring you down energetically. I want to be around people who are like smarter, happier, richer, all of the things than me, because that's going to obviously lift me up in turn. However, you also are not you don't answer to anyone but yourself, realistically, right? So,
and you're the only one who has to live with the consequences of your choices. Those people commenting do not need to live with the consequences of your choices.
And also, they can make a choice and you don't have to make the same choice. You don't have to do the things that they're doing. If everyone else in the office is eating cupcakes and you have a meal that you brought for the day and that feels better for you, that is your choice and you prefer the outcome of that. You're not an outcast. You can still sit and have a conversation with people and make a different choice. But, somebody said this one time and it really stuck with me, and I always perceive it this way. And I think it's really good perspective, is that if somebody is commenting on, you always eat healthy, or you always do this, or they're putting any type of negative connotation around you making decisions for the sake of your health and your goals, it is because that is not something they're willing to do for themselves. So it makes them feel better. It might even be subconscious. They're not intentionally always sabotaging, but they are bringing you down to their level, and you don't have to entertain that at all. It's interesting to see that dynamic, because if another person in the office is being healthy and making good choices and trying to optimize, the odds that they are ever the one making a comment on your meal, probably slim to none, right? Because they understand the value of making choices that serve you and the goal and the outcomes that you want. If someone else is making a comment, it's because they're trying to take you down.
They're already struggling, or they're struggling with their own insecurities.
Right. So
when I was in an office environment, something else that I think was very helpful was always having nutrient dense options available. So like, we worked down the street from a place that made great cheesecake. So on everybody's birthday, it was like and I love cheesecake, right? It's not like some random M&Ms on the counter or something. I would have a bag of almonds, dry protein powder. I would bring in like an apple or an orange every day. Because if I was like, oh, that looks so good, I would have the healthy thing that has protein or fiber first. And then if in like 15 minutes I still wanted a slice of the cake, I could also have it, right? So I'm not saying you can never have the thing. Is it a worth it thing for you that you're going to enjoy every single bite of? And do you actually want it, or are you just satisfying some other need? Are you hungry? Are you bored at your desk? Satisfy the other need first. And then if you still really want the thing, enjoy every single bite of it and be mindful and present while you're enjoying it.
And that makes you owning your choices that much more powerful and easy. And then you become a lot more neutral around, food specifically. You're not so hung up on how is this going to impact me later, or the calories or anything like that. You start to it allows you to be more present. And I think that's also super powerful for your environment. The other one that's a big one with a lot of clients is their spouse. Like, how do I navigate? Like, my husband can eat whatever he wants without gaining weight, or he always makes comments that I'm like on another diet, which I have a lot of thoughts about your partner and not being as supportive, but
it is a very tough scenario to be in. If you have somebody who's living a different lifestyle, even if they are supportive of your choices, on your path,
because if there's that
totally different right next to you, it is tougher.
Yep. So in that scenario, there's a couple things. One, again, I think, especially when it comes to your spouse or your partner, having a conversation about, this is what I'm doing and this is why this is important to me and this is how you can support me. It doesn't mean your spouse needs to follow the same diet as you. It just means you're a little bit more mindful of your habits. And so often what ends up happening, there might be a little resistance from a spouse with a client starting out. I swear 99% of the time, the spouse ends up following a similar process because they see all of the positive outcomes that happen with a client that's eating more food, and what happens when they are consistent in the gym and how it's helping them show up as a better version of themselves. A lot of the times that actually encourages, without directly saying, I want you to do this thing with me, because again, they don't have to, and they don't have to have the same goals as you, but it is cool to see how it positively influences people. Yeah.
A year or a year and a half into coaching, we have women saying the best part of my week is that like my son and my husband work out now. And it's just like, they never were coaxing them to do it. It's just now part of their family environment.
Yeah. And then family, friends, like socially, I did eventually have to evolve my social circle. And it doesn't mean if you want to drink less alcohol that you can't hang out with friends that still do that. They certainly can coexist. But for me, it just was like, I don't want to stay up late every Friday night. I like being home. I like doing these other things. And I had other priorities. So for me, I did kind of optimize my my circle and my bubble. It doesn't mean I don't drink. And it also doesn't mean that you choosing to drink every Friday night is wrong, right? You have to do whatever
And
works
it
best
also
for
doesn't
you.
mean you never see those people. Sometimes you
Right.
might be around those people and you make different choices than they make because again, you are owning your outcomes.
Right. Yeah. So I think a lot of people feel like social pressure to like have a drink in their hand. And I also used to struggle with that. And honestly, I started, it's funny, I will like bring my own stuff to a party. Like, I don't care. I'll bring my own snacks. I don't, and it's not because I'm doing something different or I'm shaming someone else. It's just, I don't know what my choices are. I want to optimize my environment. So I like to bring fruit and bring snacks and I'm willing to share them all with everybody. So I'm fine being the annoying friend that might bring a veggie tray with hummus or something to a party.
And you'd
then
be
I would
surprised
bring,
how often people will support you.
yeah,
Like I have clients who are like, oh my gosh, my friend just asked to go for a walk with me because she sees me
yes,
doing that all the time. And she was worried to tell her friends that she was on this fitness path because she thought nobody would be supportive. I've had people in my life who choose not to drink, and then people around them are like, oh, I've been thinking about not doing that too. And it's like, you
yeah,
don't know the ripple that you might be creating or the seed you might be planting too with those healthy choices. Don't
yeah,
don't assume everybody's just gonna exile
sabotage
you,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of control what that social environment looks like. That might be doing a little bit less of what you did before. That might be bringing a beverage that makes sense for you. That might mean bringing snacks. That might mean eating a healthy meal before you do something, right? There's so many different ways to go about that. I actually have an entire like PDF guide on this. It's literally called like the Anti-Diet Manifesto, and it's all about how to do these things. So I just thought of it because I haven't shared that in a while. But if you're listening to this and that sounds helpful, obviously you can
It's
you
a
can just
very
message
cool
me
tool.
for it. Yeah. But all of that said, your social environment, it's can be helpful to audit yourself, and you kind of have to use your judgment of like, do I just need to stay in my lane? Is there something I can change? Is there something I'm choosing over and over that's maybe not serving me anymore? Can I find a little bit of a balance that might, better serve me in the long run? Whatever it is. Do I just need to have a simple conversation with somebody or ask for their support? So your social environment is a big one for sure. Your internal environment, literally your brain, the content that you consume, who you follow, what podcasts you listen to, what anything really. The thoughts you and things you think about yourself, the things you think and say when you look in the mirror, that all has an impact on you and your health and your life and your choices. Your stress. It's fascinating how many people come to me saying things about cortisol and stress and all of these things in their life. And one of their biggest stressors is their stress about their weight and the things that they're doing. They're like creating this crazy cycle for themselves. And then they're stressing about the stress. So I think that we have a couple of like tools and things that we practice and implement with clients where we help give them a little bit more awareness around their self-talk. But I know that there are people that I followed on social media that weren't necessarily posting anything wrong, but maybe something was triggering for me, or maybe they were at a point in their health journey that I wasn't at, and that was like frustrating for me. So for me, it's like, okay, just remove it. Why do I need to consume this content? I don't. So anything like that, it's always okay to remove something that is having negative impact on your thoughts and your perception of yourself, because that's what you should prioritize the most, especially for anything.
And we talked a little bit about self-talk earlier, right? I talked about that client who said, I don't like working out. Whether you say you can or can't, you're right. Right. So if you say, I can't control myself around food, you're now telling your brain that's who I am. You're identifying with that thing. So changing your language is the first step to then your actions following. So be really mindful and start to catch yourself. Again, if you have a buddy who you trust to help with that, where you feel like it's safe, who can kind of call you out when it happens, it can help you notice patterns that maybe you don't even notice in yourself. But again, it's like, okay, well, could you say, hey, I'm becoming somebody who likes to work out? Could we say that? Even if you don't believe it yet, start saying that instead when you notice yourself saying, I hate working out, because eventually your actions follow. Every time you say, I don't like working out, and then that workout pops up on your calendar, you're having this internal tug of war game that makes it that much harder to get yourself to the gym. So start talking like the person who shows up in the way that you want to start showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of that, just like general habits and what that looks like. I think so often we try to go 0 to 100, and then we wonder why we're overwhelmed and the thing that we're trying to implement doesn't stick. We go through this, right? Like we all want change now, but again, you have to kind of make it easier for you to implement this new habit. And Jess mentioned Atomic Habits. That's a big one. There are a couple other like habit books and principles and things that we certainly utilize in our program. But the goal is, and this is like Jess's like life message, I think, is to plan for your future self, right? How can I set that version of me up tomorrow, later, Friday, whatever it is, to make it easier for her to implement or do the thing. And sometimes that means getting your workouts done because Friday night Jill won't do it, right? Or whatever the case is.
That doesn't mean I'm excited to go right now. I'm choosing the worth it for me, right? And for me, it's worth it to stay home with my kids on Friday night and not go to the gym. So I better get it done now on Tuesday morning because that's the only gap I have in my calendar. So kind of like zooming out like that.
Yeah. And then like anchoring your habit to something you already do. Like I said, I leave my supplement thing on the counter. Maybe you put it by your coffee machine. Maybe you're trying to do like 5 minutes of visualization and it helps to put your headphones on your nightstand for a little while until you get in the groove to remember to do the thing, whatever it is. Your workouts, like looking at your week ahead of time and scheduling them in like an appointment so that it's not like, oh, I'll do it later, do it later, do it later. You have to make it super easy. And again, not going 0 to 100. Don't try to do this with 15 new things. And you're literally not going to be able to remember the habits you're trying to implement. So start slow. You'll be surprised how easily they click when you do optimize your environment and you do anchor them to something that's already like automatic for you. Eventually that thing becomes automatic. 5-minute walk after your meals, right? Whatever it is. So any of these habits that you're trying to implement, pick 2, maybe, master them, anchor them where you need to, evaluate what's working and what's not, and change it if you need to. And then you can, once you anchor the habit to something and you've become consistent with it, then you can stack habits or progress them, and it's going to be easier and easier. And again, it's all going to feel more automatic as you go, because you're doing it more consistently and it's starting to become just part of your day and your lifestyle and who you are and what you do. Generally, the other thing is we tend to wait for motivation to do a thing. And I don't like this like motivation versus discipline. It's just, what do you want? And are you willing to do the things that you want to get there? And
a lot of times action creates motivation. Yes, so by doing something, then you feel good too. And then you want to do more of it. So like just do something, even if it's like Jill said, 5 minutes of walking versus I got to work out 3 times a week at the gym. It's like, okay, right now, if you're doing nothing, do 5 minutes of walking and you feel a little better about yourself. And then now you have
momentum and
something else.
It's going to be easier. Yeah. Because you feel better and you have more energy and you have more trust with yourself. So that'll be so much easier. Your digital environment, we kind of already talked about this, just what you consume. But again, social media is huge. I know that so many women, even clients, get caught up in like some things, that gimmicky things on social media where they're like, hey, should I be doing this thing? I already know what you're going to say, but I wanted to send you this video. And we explain it. And hey, this is why we're not doing this thing, or this is what this person means. And they're like, all right, cool. And it's actually really cool to specifically see the evolution with clients, that it's not something where we're like, hey, you need to work on the things you consume on social media. But because of the knowledge and the skills and the tools that they gained through our time together, they have more discernment of what they are consuming, and they start to realize like
they end up dropping silly things in the group chat after holidays and be like, can you believe what this family member diet is on? How ridiculous. Or I heard these people talking about this on TikTok and it's so stupid. Yeah, it's cool because we see like, okay, cool. The education is sticking because they're understanding the why behind it. But also digital environment, I think in today's world, ties a lot into sleep environment also, like we talked about. So like, you may feel that you're relaxing if you're online shopping or scrolling social media or something like that because you're sitting. That's a stimulus to our brain. So that's putting us in fight or flight mode. And we really need more time in rest and digest recovery mode to optimize our health, our hormones, our physique, everything. So, and then on top of that, it cuts into physical sleep, right? Like I said, I'm addicted to my phone. So if it's next to me at night, I probably just won't go to bed as early because of that alone, right? So, I think setting boundaries around our digital access and screen time and stuff can be really healthy mentally and physically.
Yeah. And then just energetically, again, this kind of ties into like how you speak about yourself and what is the impact of your environment on you. For example, if I have like a project I want to work on for work, there are certain times where I need like very much like uninterrupted long stretch of time. I know on a Monday, I'm not going to get that. Now, I don't always want to work on the weekends, but for me, I'm like, okay, Sunday, no Slack messages coming. Clients are generally taken care of. I also need the house to be clean. So I never plan for me to do like a work sprint if I need to on a Saturday when the house is messy and there's dog hair to be vacuumed and whatever, because that's all I'm going to think about and I can't focus. So energetically for me is I can knock something out so fast because of how energetically how I know I'm going to feel like, okay, I'm going to get a good night's sleep. The house is going to be spotless. Christmas tree is going to be on this time of year, whatever it is. And
this goes for if you're not a tidy person, I'm raising my hand, right? Like I am notoriously messy. I leave things everywhere. It drives my husband nuts. He's the neat one in our home. I go to Jill's house for a week and I come home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to declutter because I felt so much more at ease in that environment. And I didn't realize that the physical stuff creates this anxiety. It's like inventory that you need to keep track of all the time and do something about. So again, if you me saying I'm not a tidy person, that's not allowing room for me to evolve into a more tidy person, right? So even if you think that that's not naturally how you are, test it out and see how you feel. Start to notice, when do you feel calm? What has been different on those days that you feel calm or at peace or motivated? I feel a heck of a lot less anxious on the nights that I get really good rest. Okay, let me start to notice those correlations so that I can learn those things about myself.
And even like specifically when we're talking like nervous system, because this is really the point of like energetics ultimately, is like Jess said, that clutter is like triggering something. It's filling her cup in a not good way, right? It's taking up too much.
It's like a hoarding anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh, do I need to hang on to it just in case? And it's like, wow, clearing things up really leaves it lets this mental energy free up too, so that I can focus on creative things or fun things or whatever.
Yeah. And if you always have a to-do list and you always have like, oh, I'm go, or I'm type A, or I'm this, oftentimes we think any type of like slowdown or downtime or rest is bad. I think I talked about this on an episode recently where a client had a week off. She's a teacher and she had the week off from school. And, she had these visions of grandeur going into the week of I'm not working, so I'm going to get all these things done. And at the next check-in, she was like, I rested and slept a lot in this past week. And I feel like I wasn't as productive. And I was like, maybe that's what you needed. And maybe that was the productivity that you needed, right? So we often perceive rest as doing nothing or not being productive. When in reality, I'm not saying you all just need to go take like a week's worth of naps, right? Obviously we have to be realistic, but even 5 to 10 minutes a day of like white space, downtime, play, fun, coloring, for God's sakes, whatever it is, like that can make your on time that much more effective and productive, to where you actually get time back for yourself because you're more productive versus just dragging yourself and fighting through. And I always have something to do. That rest can be really, really powerful. So energetically, that's obviously impactful. And then not to mention biologically, like constant stress, your nervous system being dysregulated, the impact that can have on you mentally to be able to execute the things that you want to execute. Like sometimes we need to just like take a couple things off of our plate and give ourselves the space to like think and breathe. And that's going to feel a lot easier to prioritize yourself and make good choices.
And the people, and if you guys have read The Energy Bus, that's one of my favorite books. You don't want the energy vampires on your bus who are energy suckers, who are gossiping and complaining, right? Like it's okay to still have great like friendships with people and remove yourself and spend less time with them, right? If that time becomes a drain on you, it's okay to create space for your own mental well-being without making that person feel bad or anything like that, right? But pay attention to that too, like the people who charge you up with energy versus the people who tend to drain with negativity.
Mm-hmm. So again, really this ties back into not relying on motivation, discipline, whatever it is. You're really kind of auditing yourself and saying like, okay, literal environment, digital environment, social environment, your internal environment, your habits and how you're trying to implement them energetically, nervous system, what all of that looks like. what things can you optimize? And then if you focus on that, motivation is kind of irrelevant because you've now set yourself up for success realistically. I know that's a little bit corny to say, but
no, but the systems are in place and now the systems can work. You don't have to be thinking about what to do next all the time because your gym sneakers are right by the door when you leave, right? So oh, I'm on my way there, right? You're setting the system up to make it easier on you.
Yeah. And again, Atomic Habits for the umpteenth time on this podcast, but James Clear has a quote in Atomic Habits that says, like, you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to the level of your system. So you can want all of the things in the world, but if you don't have systems and structure and habits to get there, your goal is kind of irrelevant. You're going to end up, maybe you have some steam and a couple of weeks you implement this new thing, but realistically what your systems and your lifestyle truly look like day to day, is ultimately what you're going to fall back to every single time. So if you have systems, you have, kind of your foundational bare minimum things that you do, and you slowly stack those habits over time, it's going to be a gazillion times more likely to stick. So, again, removing friction is really step one of like anything that is making that. We're talking about health, obviously, and physique change specifically, but anything that makes that healthy choice harder, get rid of it, change it, optimize it, do whatever you need to do. Increase your cues. So again, surround yourself with triggers that support the habit that you want. Communicate expectations and set boundaries and be intentional with your time. It's funny, like this, Jess and I always talk about, setting boundaries. And I'm like, no is a complete sentence. It's okay to just not go to something because you don't feel like it.
Because I feel like an obligation to, I don't want to let somebody down, or I don't want them to feel bad. And it's like, I need to protect my own energy. Just say no. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels so good when you just say no. And you don't do something for the sake of people pleasing. You do it because you want to. And that's what's best for you.
Then you end up resentful anyway. It's like, then you're not fully enjoying the thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then really like rewiring internally again, what you're consuming, your stress, giving yourself downtime, the big old patterns and thoughts and, having negative or behaviors as a personality trait, like Jess said. Maybe historically you're a person that is cluttered, right? Or has a cluttered house, but you can change something any day, anytime that you want. You just have to say, okay, this thing isn't serving me. I don't want to identify this way anymore. Start optimizing your environment and saying like, okay, how can I change this? What do I need to change? How can I remove friction first? How can I make this easier to do for myself?
I actually like this exercise that sometimes I have clients do where it's like a Jessie 2.0 or Jill 2.0 exercise. And I tell them like, you don't need to share it with me, but I want you to like close your eyes and visualize future you, like 2 years from now, 5 years from now. What does that chick look like? This is not about a physique thing. This is not physical. What does she look like? But what does your life look like? What does it feel like? How does that chick show up? And how does now let's reverse engineer that and talk like that person as if it's already come true. Because again, it's not like I'm magically manifesting it. It's if I start speaking like that person, now my actions follow and eventually it becomes a habit, right? That version of me doesn't say I hate working out. That version of me wakes up early, enjoys my tea in the sunshine, goes for a walk. Then I start my day so that I'm organized, right? So like really every single person that's going to look different for every person. Do it that way, because then you can really embody what that next version of you might be like in terms of actions.
Yep, absolutely. And then really, I think, this episode is coming out end of the year 2025. So I think it's helpful to start thinking about this, not to encourage this like January go hard energy. It's kind of the opposite, honestly. Like use this time to audit things and say, okay, instead of starting the year going 0 to 100 again and dropping off in a couple weeks, months, whatever it is, how can I actually make these changes? How can I optimize my environment that's going to in turn help you just level up who you are as a person and make implementing whatever changes you're trying to make? This applies to health, to career, to anything that you're trying to change. Optimizing your environment for that thing that you want to see happen applies. So that's really it for this episode of optimizing your environment and making it fit your goals in your life and the version of you that you want to be. So I hope that was helpful, and we'll see you guys next time.